Got my old Bible back today. How about that? Man, this brings back memories. This thing's been used. Well, it is about 30 years old. It is about 30 years old. The word by word, here we are for Genesis 42. I'm Mark. If you're joining us for the first time, wow, it's great to have you here. You picked a great place to be. Any place that the Word of God is being taught and preached. And here, more than anything, and I just prayed this before we clicked record, Lord, speak through me, speak through your word. Your word is going to accomplish what it was set out to do. Lord, anything that I say, I don't want it to get in the way of the word. Anything I have to say, I want it to be anointed, to supplement, to complement, to enhance the Word of God, bring clarity to the Word of God, not to get in the way of the Word of God. So we are here first and foremost to read the Word. And we're in Genesis 42 with the continuing saga of Joseph and his family, his brothers and his father. So when Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you just keep looking at each other?" Did that phrase go all the way back to the Bible? Why are you guys staring at each other? Do something. He continued, "I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us so that we may live and not die." Pretty simple strategy there. We are starving to death. There's a famine. There is grain in Egypt. Let's go eat so we're not going to die. We would rather live. In Deuteronomy, in one of the more famous scriptures, the Lord has presented to us death and life, and here it is again. It's a very simple choice here. Choose this path, death. Choose this path, life. That in a more spiritual sense in Deuteronomy. Here, just plain flat out. Be wise. We can take action here, and we can live. Then 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt, but Jacob did not send Benjamin. Guarding Benjamin, the youngest. He knows what happened to Joseph. Don't want to lose all my sons, especially Benjamin. Joseph's brother, with the others, because he was afraid that harm might come to him. There we go. So Israel's sons were among those who went to buy grain, for the famine was in the land of Canaan also. Now Joseph was the governor of the land, the one who sold grain to all its people. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground, fulfilling the prophecy, fulfilling the dream. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where do you come from?" he asked. "From the land of Canaan," they replied, "to buy food." Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Well, he went from being 17 to about 35 at this point. And I'm sure because of the customs in Egypt, any of those that did not violate anything that the Lord had set down, because Joseph would not have taken on any of that, but I'm sure he was nicely robed and adorned. They did not recognize him. Then he remembered his dreams about them and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected." "No, my lord," they answered. "Your servants have come to buy food. We are all the sons of one man. Your servants are honest men, not spies." "No," he said to them, "you have come to us to see our land and that it's unprotected." But they replied, "Your servants were 12 brothers and sons of one man who live in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no more." Joseph said to them, "It is just as I told you. You are spies, and this is how you will be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If you are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies." And he put them all in custody for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, "Do this, and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison, while the rest of you go and take grain back for your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so that your words may be verified and that you may not die." This they proceeded to do. They had no choice. They said to one another, "Surely we are being punished because of our brother." They thought all the way back to Joseph and what they did to Joseph, and thought, we are reaping what we've sown. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but he would not listen. That's why this distress has come upon us. For all those years, they kept that in their hearts, came back to them. Reuben replied, "Did I not tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood." They did not realize that Joseph could understand them, since he was using an interpreter. Joseph, pretty smart guy, anointed, all of those good things. So he's way ahead of them. So they believe that he can't understand them. He's using an interpreter to give them the runaround there to fool them. He turned away from them and began to weep, but then turned back and spoke to them again. He had Simeon taken from them and bound before their eyes. Yeah, that would have to be an extremely emotional situation, regardless of how much, and we get by all indications that this was not, even though it would be a huge temptation, and it would be understandable that there would be bitterness, there would be anger, there would be resentment, there would be all those things within Joseph's heart. They're still his brothers, and so this is just has to be an emotional situation. And so he did well to keep composed, but he turned around and he was shaken up. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. After this, he was done for them. They loaded their grain on the donkeys and left. At the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack to get feed for his donkey, and he saw his silver in the mouth of his sack. "My silver has been returned," he said to his brothers. "Here, it is in my sack." Their hearts sank, and they turned to each other trembling and said, "What is this that God has done to us?" Why Joseph was doing this to them? He certainly had some justification based on the way he was treated. But here's another thing that he did just to make them understand what they had done, to also scare them. That got them even more scared. They're going to be blamed for stealing. When they came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them. They said, "The man who is Lord over the land spoke harshly to us and treated us as though we were spying on the land. But we said to him, 'We are honest men. We are not spies. We were 12 brothers, sons of one father. One is no more, and the youngest is now with our father in Canaan.' Then the man who was Lord over the land said to us, 'This is how I will know whether you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take food for your starving households and go. But bring your youngest brother to me, so I will know that you are not spies, but honest men. Then I will give you your brother back to you, and you can trade in the land.' As they were emptying their sacks, there in each man's sack was his pouch of silver. When they and their father saw the money pouches, they were frightened. Their father Jacob said to them, 'You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me.' Then Reuben said to his father, 'You may put both of my sons to death if I do not bring him back to you. Entrust him to my care, and I will bring him back.' But Jacob said, 'My son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left.'" He's distinguishing the sons that Rachel bore him, the woman he loved, the woman he wanted, versus Leah. Again, this has to cause problems within the family, don't you think? On the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow. That is Genesis 42. The saga continues. So Joseph has been upstanding in just every way. He's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. He has sinned. Not in the text. We don't see any sin necessarily that I can think of. I know that I heard a sermon recently where it was stated that this is the only character in the Bible where there is nothing negative stated about him. And there is more text on Joseph than just about anybody outside of possibly Moses. Maybe there's somebody else in there, David. So it's an incredible life, an incredible testimony. In this particular situation, I believe, just because I know through the word, I know Joseph's heart, that he acted in a way that is righteous and pleasing to God, but he's definitely toying with his brothers. So we will find out what happens next, because Jacob, Joseph's father, Israel, he's frightened. He does not want to part with his last son from Rachel, Benjamin. And we will see how this all ends. Thank you for being here on the Word by Word. We're reading the Word of God from the beginning to the end. And we thank you so much for being here. Leave your comments down below, whether those are questions or just a testimony that you would like to share, prayer requests, all of that is welcome. Thank you so much for the words of encouragement. We are allowing God to speak for himself, the Word of God to go forth. And again, I have a few things to say, but we are most importantly reading the Word by Word, making our way through Genesis. Genesis 43 is next. We will see you then.